Chapter 1. Let's get a divorce. Here's $100 million. Ethan is coming back. My wife, Victoria Hawthorne, slid a divorce agreement in front of me. I was completely floored. I'd been transmigrated into a novel, cast as the pathetic doormat of a second male lead in a contract marriage plot. According to the original story, I was supposed to be a spineless loser, unable to bear leaving Victoria Hawthorne. She was an icy CEO, a goddess as radiant as the moon, and I got $100,000 a month in doormat money. Who wouldn't want a life like that? But right now, I definitely didn't 3 years in a contract marriage and I couldn't even touch her. It was all because Victoria had an idealized first love enshrined in her heart, Ethan Sterling. To her credit, she had a strong moral compass and wouldn't physically cheat during the marriage. But damn it, emotional cheating is still cheating. All right, I couldn't really complain about that part. It was a contract marriage, and she paid me. Smack, 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 I slapped myself hard across the face 3 times, cursing myself internally. This is what you get for reading novels on trashy tomato novels. This is what you get transmigrated, aren't you, doormat cuckold? My greatest weapon is the line, "I don't love you anymore." How pathetic this was, a story about a total pushover. You couldn't even call it a redemption arc, because the name Victoria Hawthorne was never associated with the word regret. Even if she did feel regret, she'd just grit her teeth and charge forward. The whole trope of the female lead groveling to win back her man? Bullshit. Victoria Hawthorne never chased anyone. Hey, into self-torture are we? Sincere Thompson, you might as well try playing hard to get. Victoria's cold mockery snapped me back to reality. It was just a divorce agreement. I'd sign it. Even if God himself came down, I was signing this thing today. CEO Hawthorne, I can sign the agreement, but you have to agree to one condition. Victoria smirked, shrugging off her nightgown. You want to screw me once? You're not worthy. With that, she tossed the gown in my face, a sweet, intoxicating fragrance washing over me. I swear, in that moment, the man in me felt terrifyingly strong. Victoria, oh Victoria, a man and a woman alone in a room and you dare to tempt me like this? I calmed myself down. I really didn't dare force her. Even though the novels on trashy tomato novels were full of CEOs who were lovesick idiots. This was the real world now. Even if it was a world from a book, it was real. The moment Victoria screamed, people would burst in. This wasn't some brain-dead fantasy plot. I threw the nightgown to the floor and stomped on it, as if I were trampling all over the high and mighty CEO herself. Victoria curled her lip in disdain. Just sign it. Don't hold me up. I have to take a shit, see? The icy CEO, so aloof in public, was this crude at home, in front of me. I was her contract husband. I was also her dog. Do you care about a dog's dignity? Thankfully, as arrogant as Victoria was, she'd never actually done anything truly humiliating to me. No whips, no forced kneeling, no making me act like her idealized first love. She had a baseline of decency. After 3 years of living together, she had become more and more casual about ordering me around at home. Things like washing her underwear, giving her massages, bathing her. But I could only look, not touch. 3 years had passed, and I still hadn't consummated the marriage. Pathetic. But luckily I had transmigrated, and I wouldn't be such a doormat. I picked up the pen. I already knew the terms by heart. $100 million in cash, a villa, 2 cars, and a couple of commercial properties. The original Sincere thought he loved Victoria, so he wouldn't sign. But I didn't love her. And with this much compensation, I'd sign it even if it killed me. Sincere Thompson, after writing my name, I quickly pressed my thumbprint. Perfect. Victoria smiled faintly, a hint of appreciation in her eyes. Not bad, Sincere Thompson. All right, what's your condition? Anything but my body. Victoria was still a virgin. Her upbringing and character meant she maintained her principles when it came to love, and I was about to shatter her so-called love. I'd signed. We were getting divorced. I no longer had to grovel and please her. I pulled out my phone. I have a gift for you. You have to promise to watch it with me. Victoria was like an ancient emperor. Her word was her bond. She was a person who valued her integrity, at least on the surface. She was true to her word. She nodded. You have 10 minutes. I dialed her assistant's number. Assistant Foster, CEO Hawthorne needs you to send me the number for the cleaners. You have 1 minute. Victoria's expression turned serious. What are you planning? The so-called cleaners were the dogs kept by wealthy families. They handled matters outside the bounds of the law. If someone like me dared to force myself on Victoria, my fate would be left to these dogs, torn to shreds. I didn't say anything, just waited quietly for the call. Soon a number was sent to my phone. At the same time, Victoria's phone rang. It was Assistant Foster. She answered, simply said she understood, and hung up. Chapter 2. The number was local to Seacliff City. I dialed it and put it on speaker. The person on the other end seemed to know it was me. Mr. Thompson, your orders? I wasn't surprised. On paper, I was still Victoria Hawthorne's husband. $10 million. I want all of Ethan Sterling's files from his time abroad. Focus on his black bodyguard. The person on the other end hesitated for a long moment. Is CEO Hawthorne there? Victoria's voice was cold. Make it 20 million. Do as he says. 10 minutes. After hanging up, Victoria sneered. You won't have the authority to make that call anymore. Do you think I haven't investigated Ethan? He was studying hard in the States, earned his master's from Columbia University. He's one of the top investors in Silicon Valley. And most importantly, for the past 3 years, just like me, he has remained chaste. Jade, hearing Victoria enunciate those last 4 words, one by one. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I burst out laughing. Never mind the fact that I bathed her all the time. I'd seen everything there was to see long ago. But this Ethan Sterling, was he really that pure? Others might not know, but how could I not? I was a transmigrator from the novels world. 10 minutes, it'll be quick. Victoria Hawthorne, just you wait for the show. With that, I hurried to the bathroom and grabbed the basin I usually use to soak her feet. What's this? You're getting ready to soak my feet, but there's no water? I rolled my eyes. We were getting a damn divorce. Only a dog would still be washing your feet. I was just worried you were about to puke. Victoria obviously caught on. She let out 2 cold laughs. $1 million. One last time. I was more than happy to oblige. 10 minutes passed quickly. Victoria's feet were done soaking, and the call came through. I was massaging her feet. No complaints from me, it was a $500,000 massage. I'd lick 'em with my tongue for that price. Actually, this life wasn't so bad. Too bad Victoria wanted a divorce, and I wasn't about to be a cuckold. A voice came from the phone. Mr. Thompson, what a coincidence. You're a prophet. Would you like a video or a live stream? Of course I wanted the latter, but I wasn't willing to spend any more money. Victoria had money to burn. As if she were spending a single dollar, she said. Add another 10 million. The person on the other end immediately became respectful. I'll send Mr. Thompson a link. Soon, someone added me on a messaging app. After accepting, the video call connected. One glance and I wanted to throw up. Victoria tried to look, but I reflexively covered the screen. Damn it. It seems this body of mine still loved her. This wouldn't do. Victoria, this live stream is vile. It'll scar you if you watch it. For life, get out of my way, Victoria, annoyed at my nagging, snatched the phone. The moment she saw the live feed, she froze, stunned. It was daytime in the States, in a dimly lit room, on a large bed, one pale figure, one dark figure, an elegant pose. Ass to ass. The live feed was from a hidden camera, like it was poking through a window. Through the glass. The video was a bit blurry, but anyone familiar with that pale body would recognize it, and Victoria certainly wouldn't fail to recognize her idealized first love. She knew it was him in an instant, but she gripped the phone so tightly I could hear it creaking. It was about to shatter. But why was she still watching, just staring? Did she like this sort of thing? Holy crap, she was more twisted than I thought. My first instinct was to run, get out of Seacliff City. But before I left, I had to get in a few jabs, just to get my money's worth. Ha ha, Victoria Hawthorne. Is this your great love? This is your goddamn love chaste. As Jade, haha. You investigated all the women around him, but why didn't you check for men? Victoria Hawthorne, your idealized first love doesn't have a girlfriend, but he does have a black boyfriend. Surprised? Isn't it thrilling? Unfortunately, I taunted her for 3 minutes, and she didn't react at all, just stayed frozen in the same position. It wasn't until her consciousness returned to her body. She finally spoke, her voice hoarse, like it had been run over by a truck. Sincere, Thompson, help me. That's when I realized she had been scared stiff, so scared she'd lost control of her body. I wanted to laugh, but I didn't dare. I tried to pry her hand off the phone, but it wouldn't budge. She was too tense, Her nerves and muscles had locked up. I had to massage her hand for a long time before I could get the phone away. I shut off the live stream, saved a clip of the video. Then I uploaded it to a cloud account and sent it to a burner account of my own. Cleared the history. Finally, I helped Victoria onto the bed and continued to massage her body. This was probably the last time in my life I would ever touch this soft, fragrant, perfect body. What a shame. The live stream might have caused Victoria immense trauma. She could turn into a sex fiend, taking both men and women, or she could become a celibate nun, living a life of abstinence. But I didn't regret it. Victoria Hawthorne mocked my love, so I had to destroy hers. An eye for an eye, now we were even, bleak. The moment Victoria's body recovered, she sat up and vomited, right at me. I had no time to react. I was covered in it from head to toe, perfect aim. Victoria Hawthorne, I stared at the woman before me and froze. She was crying. This was Victoria Hawthorne, the high and mighty Victoria Hawthorne. The IC CEO who, at such a young age, was in charge of over 100,000 employees. She was actually crying. I fell silent and quietly began to clean up. I ran hot water, took off her clothes, and carried her to the bathtub. While she was soaking, I started showering right in front of her. This was the first time I had been naked in front of her. I thought seeing a man's body would make Victoria vomit again, but she just seemed to stare blankly. Her eyes were vacant as she watched me shower, sizing up my body. After I finished and changed into fresh pajamas, I got busy cleaning the room, then bathing Victoria. I was very familiar with this routine. The CEO often had to drink at business functions and would come home and throw up or wet herself. I had seen her at her most vulnerable many times and was used to it. In that respect, I was a bit better off than my predecessors in other contract marriage stories, who never even held hands after 3 years. But honestly, even if it's a goddess, vomit is still smelly, dirty, and disgusting. Tell me, in a situation like that, who would be in the mood to do anything improper? After getting Victoria cleaned up, she threw up 3 more times, until only yellow bile came out. She was probably thinking about Ethan Sterling again. I got her clean and she had already fallen asleep. I carried her to her second bedroom. I took one last deep look at her. This might be the last time we ever saw each other. No words, no goodbyes. I was gone like the wind. Leaving my bedroom, I pulled 2 suitcases. Inside was the empire I had built over the last 3 years. All gifts from Victoria, custom-tailored suits, watches, cufflinks, leather shoes, and more. As for the money and property, Victoria wouldn't go back on her word. Assistant Foster would probably contact me tomorrow. Chapter 3. About 12 miles from Victoria's villa was a small 3-bedroom apartment. I'd bought it with the money I'd saved over the last 3 years. Victoria knew about it, but I also knew that with her proud personality, she would never come looking for me here. Logically, I should have taken the money and run far away. But on second thought, taking that much cash to a strange city felt like being a sheep walking into a tiger's den. I was better off staying in Seacliff City. I could live a quiet life, coasting on the bit of face Victoria's name afforded me. In a few years, when the Hawthorne Group went bankrupt, it wouldn't be too late to run then. I slept wonderfully, and when I opened my eyes again, it was already 10 in the morning. Life, without having to wait on Victoria Hawthorne, was incredibly comfortable. I turned on my phone to find dozens of missed calls and messages, all from Victoria's best friend Vivian White. Victoria herself hadn't called once, just as I expected, heartless. All those stories on trashy tomato novels about CEOs regretting their choices and chasing after their husbands were fake. Someone as proud as Victoria would rather die than bow her head. Well, I wouldn't bow mine either. So, I turned my phone off again. I'd wait 30 days and go get the divorce certificate. But just when you want peace, the wind starts to blow. Vivian White showed up at my door. "Sincere Thompson, you pathetic doormat, what did you do to Victoria?" Looking at her, I sighed. The person I used to fear most wasn't Victoria, but the woman standing before me, Vivian White. Don't let her petite frame fool you. She was a fierce spitfire, like a T-Rex from Texas. If anyone else called me a doormat, I'd get angry, but when she said it, I could only accept it. A year into our marriage, Vivian had deliberately gotten Victoria drunk and thrown her into my bed, and all I dared to do was hold the beautiful woman in sleep, literally just hold her. I didn't do anything else. From that day on, Vivian decided I was a certified doormat. She never bothered trying to set me and Victoria up again. Sincere Thompson, what did you do to Victoria? Why does she throw up every time she gets a call from Ethan Sterling? Why does she puke at the very mention of his name? And why doesn't she puke when she hears your name, but instead looks like she wants to bite your head off? 3 questions in a row, and I had no idea how to answer. Vivian was, without a doubt, the most loyal best friend I had ever seen. She genuinely cared for Victoria. All the best friends from those short dramas combined couldn't hold a candle to her. Later, when Victoria went bankrupt, it was with Vivian's support that she made a comeback. They were the kind of friends who would last a lifetime. But if I showed her the video, told her the truth, would Vivian be disgusted with Victoria? Would she feel contaminated too? What Ethan Sterling had been doing was just that vile. Speak up. If you don't say something, I'm going to get physical. Seeing that Vivian was about to throw a punch, I quickly raised my hands and squeaked. Squeak! Ha! You think that's funny, do you? Vivian's fist, small as a beanbag, finally came down. It felt like being hit by hailstones. It hurt a little. 5 minutes later, a panting Vivian tossed a card at me. $1 million. That's for one. You've got 9 more coming. 10 beatings for $1 million. Totally worth it, all right, Talk. What did you do? Did you puke in her mouth or something? Or did you do something else disgusting? I thought about it and decided to come clean. I didn't want any more ties to these rich heirs. Vivian, last night I made Victoria watch a live stream about Ethan Sterling. After that, she started throwing up, a lot. As I spoke, my eyes fell on 2 small dolls in a display cabinet. I grabbed them and demonstrated that classic pose for Vivian. Ass to ass. One pale, one dark. You get the picture, right? As everyone knows, women have vivid imaginations. And once they start imagining, things get intense. The images they conjure are often more graphic than the real thing. Anyway, I don't know what Vivian pictured in her head. All I saw was her covering her mouth and running into the bathroom. She was in there for a long time. Sigh. Another victim. Chapter 4. Vivian dragged me to the hospital. Victoria was a pure soul with a kind of psychological aversion to impurity. Ethan Sterling knew this. On the surface, he didn't dare mess around abroad, rejecting the advances of all women, so Victoria believed her idealized first love was staying chaste for her. Little did she know, he didn't have a girlfriend, but he did have a black bodyguard who was more than just an employee. Yesterday's live stream was the nightmare of Victoria's life. The thought of it made her sick, so she fell ill. She couldn't eat anything she ate. She threw up. She even developed a fever. She had to be hospitalized. When I entered the room, I saw Victoria looking like a broken doll. My heart ached, but I immediately hardened it and said with a cold smile, "What is it that's making you so sad? Tell me, so I can have a good laugh." Victoria couldn't be bothered with me, or perhaps she didn't have the strength to argue. Vivian, standing behind me, was not pleased. She grabbed my ear and twisted it hard. "I brought you here to comfort her. If you mock her again, you can give me back the money." I chuckled. Asking for the money back was like asking for my life. It's a sickness of the heart. How am I supposed to cure it? Should I go find Ethan Sterling and bring him here? Bleh. Upon hearing Ethan's name, Victoria reflexively retched. Unfortunately, she hadn't eaten all day, so only a little clear fluid came out. "Sincere Thompson, you can go. And remember, never mention those 2 words in front of me again. If you do, I'll hand you over to the cleaners." I felt wronged. I hadn't done anything. I even warned her before showing her the live stream. Did she really want to destroy me over this? Vivian sighed from the side. "Victoria hasn't eaten all day. There's a small kitchen in the suite. Why don't you make her something she likes?" This hospital belonged to the Hawthorne family. The very important person suite was no worse than a presidential suite. I called the butler, and ingredients were delivered within 10 minutes. Crab roe congee. I added fish roe. To remove the fishy taste, I cooked the roe and then painstakingly peeled the membrane off each tiny egg. Vivian watched from the side and sighed. "Victoria knows how good you are to her, but she doesn't appreciate it at all, and she's so proud. Even if she regrets it, she won't admit it. You two would have split long ago if it weren't for me. Don't worry, I'll help you." To be honest, I wasn't that keen on getting back with Victoria anymore. The status gap was just too big. It made me feel insecure and sensitive. I had no confidence in our marriage. Today it was the idealized first love. Tomorrow it could be a junior assistant, and after that maybe some underclassmen. The 4 horsemen of the trashy CEO novel apocalypse. The idealized first love, the male assistant, the cute underclassman, and the sworn brother. Oh, and the doormat husband. Victoria had already checked one off the list, and I was not a doormat. At the very least, I wouldn't let myself be cuckolded. The congee was ready. Once it had cooled a bit, I brought it to Victoria myself. The woman's expression was still numb. The aroma of the congee seemed to bring her back to her senses. "Thank you." Then, out of habit, she opened her mouth, waiting for me to feed her. Well, the rich are always the masters. I couldn't be bothered to argue with a sick person, so I fed her spoonful by spoonful. After 2 large bowls, Victoria had finally made a preliminary recovery. I announced my departure. 30 days from now, 10 in the morning. I'll see you at the courthouse. By the way, Victoria, a storm is coming. Is the Hawthorne Group ready for it? Can the 5-year-old secret buried under the Azure Hills development be kept any longer? Without waiting for either of them to react, I pushed the door open and left, my departure swift and clean. Being familiar with the plot, I hadn't originally planned to interfere with Victoria's bankruptcy. But right now, we were still a single unit. I hadn't received the divorce certificate. The $100 million severance hadn't arrived, nor had the property deeds. According to the original plot, Ethan Sterling would return to Seacliff City this evening. The day after tomorrow, he would start targeting me. The Sterling family was also a powerful family in Seacliff City, so I still needed Victoria's protection. Chapter 5. After I left, my words left Victoria stunned. The secret of that plot of land was known only to a few top executives at Hawthorne Group. How did Sincere Thompson know? What did he mean? Was someone planning to use this secret to destroy the company? Victoria slowly calmed herself down. To destroy Hawthorne Group, this one secret was clearly not enough. Over the years, the company's development had involved some shady dealings. Her father and she had been working to clean things up during their tenure. But even corrected mistakes leave traces. They wouldn't stand up to a thorough investigation. "Viv, I need to be discharged." Sincere was right. A storm is coming. Vivian didn't know the secret of the Azure Hills development Sincere had mentioned, and she didn't ask. But seeing Victoria's urgency to leave the hospital, she understood that someone was targeting Hawthorne Group. The easiest way to dismantle a fortress is, of course, from the inside, and Victoria was the most suitable target. Over the years, all sorts of men had tried to get close to Victoria using various methods, both overt and covert. But what they didn't know was that powerful families had ways to counter their sordid schemes, especially the old cliché of saving someone's life. That was what these families were most cautious about. If you dared to play that game, they would investigate your family tree back 18 generations. Perhaps only in short dramas did powerful families believe in repaying a life-saving debt with marriage. Vivian wanted to say that Ethan Sterling's return was too coincidental, but remembering that Victoria couldn't bear to hear his name, she let it go. "Victoria, I think you should take Sincere back. Based on what he just said and what happened yesterday, he's no doormat. He truly loves you." A flicker of warmth passed through Victoria's cool eyes, but her tone remained icy. "I know he's capable, but I can't bring him home. Not yet, anyway. He's only safe as long as he's outside, away from the Hawthorne family." Vivian suddenly understood. "So you deliberately divorced him to protect him?" Victoria paused. It was a good excuse, but she disdained lying. That's half the reason. The other half is that, before, I really did still have that person in my heart. Thinking about it now, it was just a lingering attachment to my youth. The wise do not fall in love. That saying is true. You always yearn for what you can't have, and you ignore the one who loves you most right beside you. If Sincere wants to leave, then let him go. Vivian stomped her foot in frustration. That was Victoria for you, proud as ever. Back at Hawthorne Group, Victoria's mind was in turmoil. She realized she was sick. Before starting work, the first thing she did was instruct her assistant, Diane Foster. Book an appointment with a female psychologist from Seacliff City's Mind's Wish Clinic. Also, from now on, the core security team will be comprised entirely of women. The second and third security layers can employ men. All my cars are to have female drivers, and no men are allowed in my office. Furthermore, if that person from abroad returns, he is not to come within 100 meters of me. Diane Foster jotted down the notes, inwardly astonished and shocked. What was wrong with the CEO? It seemed like psychological aversion to impurity, but why was it so severe that she couldn't even be near men? As for who that person was, as her special assistant for 5 years, she naturally knew. She never expected the CEO would refuse to see him, even forbidding him from coming within 100 meters. What kind of strategy was this? After arranging these matters, Victoria opened the files on her desk, but her mind was on what Sincere Thompson had said. The Azure Hills development had been completed 5 years ago. The secret underground was long buried beneath skyscrapers. Who would use this to attack Hawthorne Group? She knew Sincere. She knew I wouldn't lie to her. The wind is rising and the storm is about to break. Chapter 6. Seacliff City International Airport. When Ethan Sterling got off the plane, he didn't see the person he was expecting. Something was wrong. He and Victoria had agreed yesterday that she would pick him up. He'd called her before boarding, but she hadn't answered. He thought it was a surprise, but it turned out to be a disappointment. Could it be that her contract husband was refusing to cooperate with the divorce? Ethan Sterling sneered. The rightful owner was back. Did the substitute really dare to remain in Seacliff City? He truly wasn't afraid of death. He took out his phone. "Hello, it's me. Help me find out where Victoria Hawthorne is." Seacliff City was big, but it was also small. The elite circle had only a few regular spots for dining, entertainment, and gatherings. Soon, Ethan's phone rang. "What? You're saying Victoria Hawthorne is pregnant?" "Impossible. She clearly told me that her husband hadn't even laid a finger on her. Morning sickness, and it's severe. She's hospitalized." Ethan hung up and smashed his phone in a rage, as if he were smashing Victoria and her fake husband to pieces. 8 o'clock that evening at the Sky Palace. It was old Mr. Zhang's 80th birthday gala. Ethan Sterling was here. He hadn't found any trace of Victoria, but he knew she would definitely come to pay her respects. I was here too. I didn't actually want to come, Vivian White insisted. She threw $5 million at me, and I admit I was greedy again. Here, in the eyes of outsiders, I resumed my identity. The Hawthorne family's live-in son-in-law. Victoria was on my arm, a smile on her face, while I was dressed in a handsome and elegant custom-tailored suit. To outsiders, we probably looked like the perfect couple, a match made in heaven. In reality, it was all an act. I was resentful, but I didn't dare show it. Victoria probably wasn't feeling too comfortable at this moment either, offering birthday wishes, presenting the gift, exchanging a few pleasantries. My job was done. Next up were the banquet, the party, and the parting gifts. I planned to lie low for a while, grab the gift, and head back. Oh no, Sincere. "Ethan Sterling is here. What's Victoria going to do?" Just as I was hiding in a corner, nibbling on green tea pastries, Vivian found me. She was worried Victoria would puke the moment she saw Ethan. I spread my hands. Hiding forever isn't a solution. She'll get used to it after, puking a few more times. Vivian shot me a glare and pulled me toward Victoria. CEO Hawthorne was truly a CEO. She was currently chatting and laughing with a group of female business owners. Contracts worth billions were being settled with casual conversation. For that, I could only be envious. I also wanted to discuss multi-billion-dollar projects with CEO Hawthorne, but she wouldn't agree. Victoria hated being interrupted during business discussions. I was afraid, but Vivian White wasn't. She squeezed into the circle and whispered to Victoria, "That person is here. Should we leave early?" Victoria truly wanted to flee, but she couldn't bring herself to leave. She was the CEO of Hawthorne Group, with over 100,000 livelihoods depending on her. She had a responsibility. She needed to secure a few more contracts tonight. It was her duty. Tell Sincere not to stray too far from me. If I need to puke, I'll puke on him. Vivian was speechless. "Girl, are you even human?" Victoria gave a mysterious smile. "You don't understand. He has unique tastes. Here's a check for $1 million. That'll keep him from getting angry." Vivian was speechless again. "You two are a perfect match. A psycho for a psycho." Chapter 7. Ethan Sterling arrived, and after paying his respects, he spotted Victoria. In any crowd, she was always the brightest star. He had planned to go over directly, but Victoria was in a business discussion, so he stood quietly to the side, waiting. A faint smile played on his lips. His eyes held a mix of emotions, 30% love, 50% admiration, and 20% mockery, as if Victoria wasn't just his lover but also his employee. Then, his gaze shifted, and he finally saw me, Sincere Thompson. Ethan couldn't resist. He grabbed a glass of wine and walked over to me. "Sincere Thompson, I'm Ethan Sterling." I pretended not to know him, giving a polite nod but ignoring him otherwise. After all, we had never actually met. Just then, a few of Ethan's friends gathered around. They were all from the elite circle and understood what Ethan was trying to do. One of them smiled faintly. "Mr. Hawthorne, your cuff is a bit wrinkled. Did the maid at home miss it?" I gave a faint smile. Damn it, mocking me for being poor, trying to disgust me. "Mr. Ford, the road back to your family's old estate is full of potholes. Walk it too often and you might take a nasty fall." The moment I said that, the scene fell silent. Only the so-called Mr. Ford, struggling to keep his composure, shouted, "Bullshit, how dare you spread rumors?" I chuckled softly. Truth isn't determined by who has the loudest voice. A loud voice just means you have a guilty conscience. Mr. Ford retreated. If that news got out, it would be more than just a matter of ruining his reputation. Seeing this, the others quickly followed Mr. Ford and left. They didn't even say goodbye to Ethan as they went. Ethan was furious. He hadn't expected me to scare off his friends with a single sentence. He moved closer to me and, pretending it was an accident, knocked a wine glass out of a passing guest's hand. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Would you mind cleaning that up for me, Mr. Thompson? I have to go chat with Victoria. Mr. Thompson wouldn't be so petty as to refuse to help, would he?" I smiled, but inside I wanted to slap him silly. He was going after my wife and leaving me to clean up his mess. Damn it, who the hell did he think he was? What a malicious trick. If I bent down to clean it up, I'd be acting like a servant in public. It would be a loss of status. I was the Hawthorne family's son-in-law. My every word and action represented the Hawthornes. I smiled and refused. "I'm sorry, but my wife was in her fertile window a few days ago. I hurt my back. It hasn't healed yet." The guest whose glass was knocked over, a middle-aged man, hadn't left. He knew we were sparring. He was deliberately staying to watch the show. When he heard what I said, he burst out laughing, gave me a thumbs up, and then walked away. Ethan, who was still standing there, had a face as black as thunder. 3 words echoed in his mind. Fertile window, fertile my ass. He couldn't take it anymore and strode quickly toward Victoria. When he was 3 steps away, he opened his arms, ready to embrace her. He said with deep emotion, "Victoria, I'm back." Who knew that the moment Victoria saw him, her face turned visibly pale? Seeing him reach out to hug her, Victoria retched. But to vomit filth at an event like this would be disrespectful to the host. Luckily, I was quick. I rushed to her side with a small paper bag. Victoria was already the center of attention. Her retching instantly drew the eyes of most of the guests. They were all adults. Everyone knew what it meant when a woman threw up. Ethan knew too. He stared like a fool at the heaving Victoria. The phone call from the airport flashed through his mind. "Victoria has morning sickness. She's pregnant." Ethan stumbled back 2 steps in shock. He had painstakingly played the part of a devoted lover for 3 years, returning ready to make his grand move, and absorb both Hawthorne Group and Victoria Hawthorne in the process. But how could this bitch be pregnant? On what grounds? Why? Ethan was so angry he wanted to slap Victoria, to kick the bastard child out of her belly, to kill her contract husband. But he had to restrain himself. He walked up to Victoria. "Victoria, are you pregnant? I don't mind." As Ethan said it, he felt his heart bleeding. The hatred was immense. The people present watched Ethan with amusement. Now this was true love. Even I had to admire him, as expected of the man Victoria chose as her idealized love. He had some thick skin. Vivian White stepped forward, standing in front of Victoria. "What the hell kind of rumor are you starting? Your mother's the one who's pregnant. Open your damn eyes and look properly. Victoria feels sick just looking at you. If you have any self-respect left, then get lost. The further, the better." Under the crowd's mix of amused, contemptuous, sympathetic, and curious gazes, Ethan could only try to save face. "Victoria, you get some rest. We'll meet up another day." Unfortunately, Victoria was still in the throes of physiological nausea, and it seemed quite severe. She didn't even glance at him. As Ethan left, Victoria slowly returned to normal. For a second, a wave of sadness had washed over her. Just 2 days ago, they were whispering sweet nothings to each other over the phone, and now she felt sick just hearing his name, let alone seeing him in person. That live stream was a shadow that would haunt her for life. "Sincere Thompson, you're a ruthless man. Satisfied now?" I couldn't help but let out a small chuckle, then quickly composed myself. "You can't blame it all on me. All I can say is, you both had it coming." Victoria was a bit weak. She took the water Vivian handed her. Just as she was about to drink, she suddenly remembered something. "You didn't drug this, did you?" Vivian rolled her eyes in exasperation. Ever since that time she'd put her best friend in Sincere's bed, Victoria had been extra cautious about anything she handed her. Victoria Hawthorne, in your current state, do I even need to drug you? Just look at yourself. What a wreck. Sincere could knock you out in 3 minutes. I was dumbfounded. Vivian was truly a woman of valor. When she was angry, she was like a battle-hardened mom. She'd say anything, no holding back. Victoria gave a sheepish smile, took the glass, and only dared to speak after finishing the water. There, I drank it. Chapter 9. A week passed after the birthday banquet. I hadn't contacted Victoria or Vivian. I had nothing to do all day. I thought about getting a job, but I was afraid I couldn't handle a boss's attitude. More importantly, what boss would pay as much as Victoria? Comparing the two, I decided to work for myself, making short videos. I was a transmigrator, after all. All the songs from my original world were original compositions in this one. I could plagiarize freely. So I spent a little money, found someone to arrange and record a few songs. Just a few days after uploading them to various platforms, I became a minor internet celebrity. And the profits from the songs were truly delightful. I never thought making money could be this easy. I no longer had to bow and scrape before Victoria. And Vivian White, I was going to throw her money right back at her. I thought my good days would just keep rolling on. But one night, I went to sleep and woke up back in Victoria Hawthorne's villa. On her fragrant, soft, massive bed. It would have been perfect if my limbs weren't bound by iron chains. All right, I shamefully admit I was still thinking about her body. You're awake, Sincere Thompson. Don't blame me for this. This is all your own doing. You have to pay for it. I was terrified. Victoria, clad in a nightgown, sat on top of me. She was wearing nothing underneath. I was completely naked. The morning sun was awakening the world, and my body answered spring's call. Why are you so thin? What are you doing? Hearing my subconscious concern, Victoria was touched, but it didn't shake her resolve. One word, one thrust, and she was home. I was instantly speechless. What the hell was this? You can do this? Looking at Victoria's bloodshot eyes and the clear tears at their corners, I could only remain silent. A strange thought crossed my mind. Yandere, less than 3 minutes later, Victoria dazedly rolled off me, dissatisfied. So it was you who couldn't last more than 3 minutes, I'm going to tell Viv. It wasn't me. My face turned beet red with embarrassment. I whispered, You know, men have a first time too. Victoria's eyes lit up. She kissed me. She smiled, and the dim room seemed to fill with a brilliant white light. That's perfect. We're even then. Thanks for saving me some money. I wanted to cry but had no tears. Could you really calculate it like that? Untie me. Next time it's my turn to be on top. Victoria figured since it was already done, if I dared to run, she'd just break my legs. But she still insisted on being on top. I am Victoria Hawthorne. I was curious. I know that Victoria was displeased. Victoria Hawthorne is never on the bottom. I had no choice but to coax her. I know, Your Majesty, I'll teach you a few tricks later. It feels really good. Really? Aren't you a virgin? Of course it does. It's my first time, but I've had teachers. Japanese teachers. All right. If it doesn't feel good, I'm getting back on top. This time Victoria was agreeable. After a 10-minute break, I asked her why she had tied me up. It turned out I had dug this pit for myself. Victoria was sick, a psychological illness, and I was her medicine. Because of that live stream, because of Ethan, Victoria had developed an aversion to physical contact with men. She had seen several psychologists this past week. The solution they offered was that a sickness of the heart requires a medicine for the heart. And I was her cure, because she didn't reject my touch, and she wasn't disgusted by my body. As for why she was taking the initiative, I had to take the blame for that one too. The entire elite circle of Seacliff City knew that she, Victoria Hawthorne, was pregnant. It wasn't true, of course, but a lot of people wanted to make the fake news real. The chairman of Hawthorne Group, Victoria's father, and her mother, the other shareholders of Hawthorne Group, the company's business partners. Too many to count. Such was the power of a rumor repeated often enough. Victoria was helpless. Of course she could confess the truth, but Hawthorne Group's stock would plummet. In these troubled times, she couldn't risk it. Because she knew one thing, without Hawthorne Group, her fate would be miserable. Besides that, Victoria also admitted that she had feelings for me, but she didn't know how deep they went. That's how people in the elite circle were. They didn't understand love, nor how to love. In any case, she said she was only willing to have children with me. She wanted two, one with the surname Hawthorne and one with the surname Thompson. When I heard that, I thought, no problem, I'll take that job. What is love? Marriage is the most enduring confession. An idea instantly formed in my mind. I could help cure Victoria's illness. But I couldn't cure it completely. Her being disgusted by other men was a good thing. It's just that now she seemed to have turned into a yandere. A yandere won't cheat, but she definitely won't let me cheat either. In a long marriage, could I really restrain myself? Round 2. Let's go. Victoria undid the chains. First, 10 minutes of kissing. We need to do this a few more times. I'm in my fertile window today. Hearing that, what could I say? Only one word could represent my actions. For 3 days we barely left the house. Victoria became visibly more radiant, and her body looked less frail than before. On the 4th day, when she went to the office, the employees gossiped, all saying the CEO had changed dramatically, like she'd taken some kind of super tonic. On the 4th day, I also walked out of the villa. My legs were trembling, as if a gust of wind could knock me over. The dark circles under my eyes would put a panda to shame. I still had to go to the recording studio today. My career couldn't be neglected. Chapter 10. At that moment, Victoria Hawthorne was in deep trouble. She had received a letter from Ethan Sterling. Ethan hadn't been idle this past week either, but Victoria had blocked his number, blocked him on all social media platforms, blocked messages delivered through friends, blocked his email, refused all local deliveries. And when he tried to meet her in person, he couldn't get within 100 meters of her. Helpless, he could only have someone deliver a letter to Victoria under the guise of official business. He had written it himself. After sending several letters without a reply, he finally dropped the act. No more playing the pure, devoted lover. His true colors were revealed. He threatened Victoria. 2 documents. One detailed how 5 years ago, a real estate company under Hawthorne Group had deliberately damaged and buried underground historical relics during the development of the Azure Hills project. The other detailed how Hawthorne Group had forged soil toxicity safety tests for a project in the Pyeongchang district. Victoria held the 2 documents and fell into deep thought, sitting motionless for half a day. Ethan's threat was both laughable and disgusting. He was no longer demanding that Victoria divorce me. Instead, he demanded that she bear his child. Ethan had already learned that Victoria would vomit at the mere mention of his name or sight of him. He guessed that she must know about his dark past, so all he wanted was a child. With a child, he would have a reason to enter Hawthorne Group. Then he could trigger a few more scandals, drive down the company's stock, short sell, merge, restructure, and in the end, Hawthorne Group would go bankrupt. After his family, the Sterlings, swallowed Hawthorne Group. Who in Seacliff City could challenge their position as the top family? At that point, even if he publicly announced his sexual orientation, who would dare to laugh at him? Their plan was meticulous, but its execution was slow. Chapter 11. It had been 3 days since Victoria received Ethan's letter, and she hadn't replied. Today was the deadline. The Hawthorne family estate in the study. The family patriarch, Arthur Hawthorne, Victoria, her mother Eleanor, and Vivian White. And of course me, just there to fill a seat. Previously, I wouldn't have been qualified to attend a family meeting like this. But this time, Victoria insisted I join. She said I was part of the family, that I was the pillar of the household, that I was the future father of her child. Seeing as she was flattering me so much, I gave her the courtesy. Perhaps, after learning what I'd done, Arthur and Eleanor's opinion of me had changed significantly. They were as affectionate, as if I were their own son. Since that was the case, I wouldn't hold back. I would show my value. Dad, Mom, Victoria, and Vivian. What I'm about to say is all confidential. It's information I paid for, and it's guaranteed to be true. You can verify it for yourselves. After giving them that disclaimer, I began. Dad, your special assistant has been with your 5th mistress for 5 years, and that mistress used to work for the Quaid family of Seacliff City. Arthur Hawthorne stood up, disbelieving, wanting to argue. I held up a hand to stop him and continued. Uncle Lou and the company is preparing to sell 5 of his group shares at the next board meeting. Directors Zhao, Yan, and Tian are wavering. They'll probably agree. Someone is shorting Hawthorne Group's stock on the market. I took a sip of tea, waiting for Arthur to make some calls to test my claims. After a few calls, his face was as dark as ink. He was trembling. I continued. The government will receive reports concerning Hawthorne Group You, Dad, and Victoria, and you too, Mom. Eleanor was shocked. I've been retired for 10 years. How could it involve me? I reassured her. It's nothing major. It's just that you've been paying off your brother's gambling debts all these years, and co-signing his loans. The amounts have been getting larger and larger. Ahem. You should be mentally prepared. Eleanor went limp and slumped to the floor. Arthur Hawthorne, a true veteran, waved his hand. Continue. Next, relying on my memory, I recounted the entire process of Hawthorne Group's downfall. As Arthur listened to my story, he realized there were many things about his own company he didn't know. Victoria was the same, breaking out in a cold sweat. Husband, how much did you spend on this information? Once the company weathers this crisis, I'll pay you back double. I smiled at that. Who said talking about money hurts relationships? Nonsense. Arthur had also regained his composure. Now that he knew the enemy's tactics, he could strike first. At this point, the roles were reversed. Our side had moved from the light into the shadows. Sincere, you have a good head for business. Come work for the company. I'll make you a vice president. I smiled and refused. I knew my own capabilities better than anyone. If I hadn't transmigrated and known the plot, I would just be an ordinary person. Dad, I won't join the company, and I don't want any shares. I have things I enjoy doing on my own. Victoria supported me. My little yandere was now my biggest fan. Dad, my husband can write lyrics, compose music, and sing. He's going to be an international superstar. It would be a waste of his talent to have him at our company. Vivian chimed in. That's right, Uncle. I was just thinking of buying an entertainment company to sign him. Victoria's yandere meter instantly maxed out. My husband, I'll just buy him an entertainment company myself. Vivian wouldn't back down. What do you know about the entertainment industry? Do you have time to keep an eye on him? I'm offering to watch him for you and you're not even grateful. Look at you, you wreck. Can you even last 10 minutes? Victoria was defeated, but she managed to say through gritted teeth, You're not stealing him from me, Vivian just scoffed. I didn't dare say a word. Arthur Hawthorne sipped his tea, and Eleanor Hawthorne offered me a cigarette. Chapter 12. Half a month later, the war between the Hawthorne, Sterling, and Quaid families came to a close. Hawthorne Group had a narrow victory, but its main forces were intact, and it was already rapidly consuming the spoils of war. Ethan Sterling, who had once been so arrogant in front of me, was now locked up in a detention center. One day, bored, I went with Vivian White to see him. I wasn't sure what he'd done, but he could be facing a life sentence. Are you here to mock me? Is this fun for you, kicking a man when he's down? Vivian spat at him, but the glass partition blocked it. I came to see when you're going to die, and to show everyone in our circle what a pathetic state you're in as a lesson. I chuckled and took out my phone. Ethan, didn't you want to know why Victoria pukes every time she sees you? Here, take a look at your masterpiece. The moment the video started, the vile images made Ethan feel as if he were in a different world. His expression went blank. You arranged for someone to secretly film this? I smiled faintly. I was the mastermind, but Victoria was the one who paid for it. Ethan's face grew even paler. Then our plan. I immediately adopted a respectful tone. My father-in-law is wise and brilliant. With that, Ethan lost all desire to speak and requested to end the visit. As he was leaving, he turned back, his hateful gaze like a knife. Sincere Thompson, we'll meet again in the next life. I was startled. A fight is fine, but you better be damn clear about which kind of fight you mean. Fucking faggot. Half a month later, a shriek came from the bathroom. I thought something had happened to Victoria. I found her holding a pregnancy test stick, excited. Husband. Look, 2 lines. I knew what 2 lines meant. I immediately swept Victoria up in my arms. I had been doting on her constantly, and she had become fuller than before, soft and fragrant. Victoria snuggled into my arms. Husband, I can't sleep with you for the next 3 months, she pouted. I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself. I patted her. I'll endure it with you, honey. Victoria's eyes turned crimson. Thank you, husband. The next morning I woke up to a familiar scene. My 4 limbs were chained to the bed. Victoria woke up slowly, looking deceptively innocent. Husband, if I tie you up, I won't have to worry about you cheating. I was helpless. This was the downside of a yandere too clingy. I regretted it. I should never have bought that live stream video, and yet I was glad I did. Unfortunately, life doesn't give you do-overs. Cherishing the present is the greatest happiness.